So we're back with another stream. This is Sunday Zine, where I make a zine on camera and you get to watch the whole thing. My book list for 2022. I have already read 7 books this month, this year. Let's just say I have read them. I have not read them. I have been listening to audiobooks. I've been trying something new this year because I haven't been able to read because of the pandemic. But I figured I would try audiobooks and see how that works for me. And it's working okay. I will not say it's working great, but it's working okay. And I have 7 books on my list. Because I have 7 books on my list, I was thinking we could do this kind of zine with 8 pages. Let's open up that minizine. So we've seen this one before. You know how it works. This one in the top left corner is our cover. And as you know, I usually start with the cover first. And this cover is going to be pretty easy because we have a title. We already know what this thing is going to be called. Actually, first thing, let's get rid of these borders. No border. And let's get rid of the thumbnails because there's only 1 page. So you don't need to see that. There's a lot more space. Now you can really see it. Oh, and then next thing we're going to do is we're going to save. Look up at the top. You can see how it says Untitled .pages and it says edited. That is always your sign to save the document. We're going to call it Sunday Zine 3 because we have made 3 of these now, or we're going to make 3 of these. By the end of today, we will have 3. So we're going to call it 2022 books. 2022 in books? Something like that. We're going to make this smaller so that it fits. There we go. That's good. 80 point. And stick it at the top too, I think. Maybe the bottom. The bottom is interesting. I'm kind of thinking 2022 in books. So we get this. Oh, that's funny. It changed to body text instead of title. In books. We want all of these to be title. Oh, and now we're down to 30? Okay. How does that work? Pages? How does that work? So that's definitely not what I wanted. Well, that's 60. I was thinking I would put an image on the cover. I was thinking the in would be much, much smaller too. Maybe 40. And you know what? I don't love the camel case in books. I don't know if you call it camel case when it's one word, but okay, I don't love the capital letter. I think it needs to either be all caps. That could work. That looks good with the 2022, right? Man, I'm just realizing how weird that year looks. because you want it to be 22, and it's not. That zero is getting in the way. One thing I was thinking that we could use, or we could look at, see what it looks like, is one of these shapes that you can find in pages. All right, shapes, education, books. See, there's some good books here. I like the stack. I like that stack of books. And all this stuff is in pages, so you can use it. You are allowed to use it. So simple. Look at that. We already have our front page. Now I'm wondering, do we want to change it to books in 2022? Let's go back to Craft. This is my note-taking app. Put all of my lists in here. My daily journal is in here. I'm not going to show you all that stuff because some of it's kind of personal. Some of it's stuff that I'm just not ready to share as well too, right? There's lots of notes about stuff I'm currently making. So you can look at this list. You can see this list. Because what this list is just the books that I've read. And I've tried to pick one quote for each. You can see that not all of them have a quote. I'm missing one for the second book. Partly because that book was so long. That book was so long, and here's the thing about all the books that I've read so far. With the exception of Kitchen, which was very short, and you can tell it's totally not of the theme that I'm going for this year. Kitchen was a book that I read for my classes. I read it because I was teaching it. It was very short. I read it in one day. I read it in like 2 hours. It was that short. It really was. Let's talk a little bit about the books that I'm reading this year. I have all of the Dorothy L. Sayers books. I own all of the paperbacks. And I have them all in order. I went through, I looked it up. I put them all in order so that I could grab the first one, grab the second one, and not have to think about it. I started to read the first one, and I got about 3 pages in. Then I put it down and forgot that I was reading it. This year, at the beginning of this year, when I decided I am going to try audiobooks, the first thing that I did was look up that book that I had started on YouTube to see if there is a audiobook, and there is. There's a ton of Dorothy L. Sayers audiobooks. But, as you can see, the third book is not on YouTube as an audiobook. The audiobook version is not on there. When I got to the end of Clouds of Witness and I couldn't find the next book, I thought, well, it's good to change things up anyway. It's good to do different things. Why not make this whole year British English mysteries? So I'm going to read all of the Sherlock Holmes books, which I've never read before. I'm going to read all of the Agatha Christie's, which I have maybe read like 2. I've definitely read 10 Little Indians. And I've definitely read The Mousetrap, but The Mousetrap was a play. I read it as a play. This is my plan. I'm going to read only English mysteries, except for those books that I have to read because I'm teaching them. And also maybe anything else that's interesting, because some friends of mine were talking about the new Beowulf translation, and I remembered that I really wanted to read it. So I finally ordered a copy of it, and it should be arriving this week. So I might be reading that as well too. We will see. It's not about I'm only going to read British mysteries. It's about that is my goal. By the end of this year, I would like to have read all of the mysteries by these 3 authors. I'm focusing on these 3. But today, we're only talking about the books that I've read so far. My idea was that I would have like a setup of these are the things I'm going to write about every book. So let's go back to pages. So we're going to have book, We're going to have, title, author, year. We're going to need to do a little bit of research. Quote and review. That's definitely going to be too big a text for the final layout, but I'm making it big so that you can see it. Title, author, year, quote, and review. Because honestly, some of the quotes that I've chosen are very long, so they might actually take up the place of the review. It might be an either or, right? It might be a quote or a review. Decide. So what we're going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this to every page. And then we're going to start filling it in. Again, this is another one of those data entry zines. So the first one was whose body and Dorothy L. Sayers. There seems to be some confusion about whether it's Sayers or Sayer with no S. On YouTube, all over, it's Sayer, no S. So I had to super double check. I was triple checking. I was like, yes, it's definitely Sayers, right? Right? And it is. I was right. All right. I'm going to switch from craft. We're going to look at my favorite website. It's not really my favorite website. It's just a very good website. Wikipedia. A very good website for figuring out information. (1923). See? It's definitely Sayers. Definitely Sayers. 1923. I have a quote. It's a dreadful mistake to ride two hobbies at once. Which is almost from the first page. The main character in Dorothy L. Sayers' books is a man named Lord Peter Wimsey. He is part of the aristocracy, so he is part of the leisure class, I guess is the best thing I can come up with right now. Wealthy because of his family. He has no need to do a job. So what he does all day for fun is he has two hobbies. One of them is old books that he goes to auctions and buys. And the second hobby is solving crimes, mostly murders. And you know what? We're back to this Helvetica Neue, which you might remember from my last zine I wasn't in love with. This is the default font. I suppose I could change it to a different default. What else do we like? I often choose sans serifs fonts when I'm doing my zines and really make them stand out. And sans serifs really do make them stand out. It's more like a poster. More like each page you're setting up is like a poster. Whereas if I'm doing an actual book, an ebook, I will almost always use serif fonts. And you know what? We're going to go back to that title as well, too. I'm just realizing we never actually changed the typeface in the title. I was so enamored with that picture. You know, this Crimson Pro looks kind of nice. Ooh, yeah. I like that one. So I just updated the body style and then all the pages changed. Isn't that amazing? The quote, I'm going to take out the word quote because putting quotes is very obvious what it is. And it's kind of nice to have it just sitting there, almost like it's a block quote. And then we're going to write a review. I think we'll probably write the reviews last. Let's do the data entry first. Write the reviews last. So the next book is also Dorothy L. Sayers. It is Clouds of Witness. And it is 26. There's a cover. So that's a great cover. That's the first edition. That is not the cover I was looking at when I was reading it. Like, look at that little tiny cat. It's got to be a cat, right? Yeah, everything's just out of proportion. Like, the gun is huge. The briefcase is small. This desk blotter is big. And the cat is tiny. Oh, you can't see it. Okay, there you go. This stream is going great. It's going great. There you go. Now you can see the cat. And I do not have a quote for this one. So I'm just going to delete it and just write a review. And I'm going to save Study in Scarlet. I have watched so many Sherlock Holmes TV shows and movies that I know this story backwards and forwards, but I'd never actually read it. 1887. Yeah, I'd never actually read any Arthur Conan Doyle. I've never read any Sherlock Holmes stories. And you know what? They're pretty damn boring. I'm sorry to say. Some of the cases are interesting. Absolutely. The twists and turns. The short story ones, not so much. The short story ones are pretty easy to figure out. It's pretty much just like a single twist. I'm working on, right now, the Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, which is the collection in which he dies. So it was the collection that Arthur Conan Doyle wanted to be the last. He wanted that to be the end. Here is the quote from the first story. See, it's a long one, but it's a good one. All right, this is the guy that introduces the two of them. And he tells Watson, "You must study him then. You'll find him a knotty problem, though. I'll wager he learns more about you than you about him," which is all very, very true. The great thing about these stories, as much as I think that they're boring, the great thing about them is that the characters are really defined right from the beginning. Like, he absolutely had Sherlock pegged, and which is the reason why Sherlock Holmes has become so popular now, because Sherlock Holmes is such a defined and rounded and multi-dimensional character, and he has so many interesting little things about him that you want to see him. You want to see different portrayals, and you want to see him in different contexts, right? Like, seeing him in present day New York in the new Elementary show is so fascinating because, yes, he fits there too. He fits everywhere. Isn't there a Sherlock in space? I'm sure there's a Sherlock in space. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this from being justified to the center, and I'm going to justify it to the top. And for all of them, we're going to give it one return of space right at the top. That is, again, necessary when you print it and fold it, because you really want to have that space right down the center. You don't want anything getting cut off. Study in Scarlet. What's next? Sign of 4. And double check, is it... You know what? I bet I can go to yes. Followed by the sign of the 4. Okay, so the original is the. I was reading something. It's not really a fun cover because it was serial, so it was in a magazine. But you can see he gets top billing. It's pretty impressive. I was reading some stuff that said it was called The Sign of 4 without the. The Sign of the 4, 1890. We have a quote from this one, and it's a very long quote. I think I'm going to cut it down. I really like this quote, though. It's about Holmes talking about how he needs stimulation. No, what are you doing? There we go. My mind, he said, rebels at stagnation. Give me problems, give me work, give me the most abstruse cryptogram or the most intricate analysis, and I am in my own proper atmosphere. We're going to put quote at the end. You know, something I'm realizing about these long quotes is that it doesn't give you much space for a review, and I actually have a lot to say about the Sherlock Holmes ones. And I don't have that much to say about Dorothy L. Sayers. The Adventures is a short story collection, and the year is 1892. And the quote is, see, this one I really like. I'll take just the part of it. Maybe just do the quote. No space for a review. So I wonder if I can fit the whole quote in here then. Let's try it. No, that's not going to fit. We could end it right there though. Just like him like a counselor. That is the good part of the quote. His oily clay pipe, which was to him as a counselor. He has all of these weird little habits. Part of you thinks, oh, that was color that they added for the show, the actor's edition, or that was a writer's edition. But no, it's all in there. He is very much fully formed. That's the way I would describe him. You know, he comes in from the very first story fully formed as a character. Even Watson, he's just not as interesting. And he does a lot of stuff to prove himself not very interesting, which is actually where Martin Freeman's portrayal in the BBC version is actually, I think, very true. He's a little bit bland, in awe of Sherlock. It's something that always bothered me about the BBC Benedict Cumberbatch version, is that Martin Freeman plays him like he's in awe of this man. But it turns out that's actually Watson. That is incredibly true to Watson, which is rather annoying. I kind of want them to be more balanced, and they're not. Next book is Kitchen. I'm lost in my UI. Author Banana Yoshimoto. The year is, I'm going to guess, 93. Oh, wow, 88. The translation is 93. I was exactly right. Damn. How did I do that? The thing about this translation, this 1993 English translation, is I thought it was really terrible. It made the book seem very juvenile. So I would love to read a different translation of it and see if it was different. I'm going to go with 1988. That was when the book was written. Last book is Mysterious Affair at Styles. Oh, I cannot spell today, huh? Yep, I cannot spell today. It's a good thing I am not writing big, long paragraphs today. My guess is 1920. I'm pretty sure it's 1920. Let's look it up. Yes, 1920. There's the cover. Very, very dark cover. This was not bad. I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't really understand how much Hastings was Watson until I read this book, because he really is. But this quote is talking about something that Hastings says. He says that John Cavendish cannot be the murderer because he is his friend. It's his old friend. And Poirot says every murderer is someone's old friend. I thought that was excellent and really good for the whole year theme as well, too. I don't think about that as when I pick quotes. I pick quotes that make me laugh, or that are really good sentences, like really clever turns of phrase, or I pick quotes that I feel sum up the book. This one is kind of all of those things. That's why it's such a good quote. It is a good turn of phrase. It's a great sentence. It's something that Poirot says. All right, we did the easy part. It would be very easy to end right there. We're going to write some reviews. So you know what? Before we do anything, let's fix this title. Let's go back here. I usually try to pick a different font for the title than I do for the inside text. I kind of try to contrast them as well too. So like if I use a sans serif in the body, I'll use a serif in the title. But this time I kind of want a serif. Although this one's looking really interesting to me. Oh, no. No, I don't like that. Not for the title. Rockwell has been my kind of go-to recently, and that does not look good. I don't like that. That is a pretty cool 2. That is a nice 2. Oh, don't do that to me. 1-point font. What are you doing? So I kind of want this to be bigger. This is just taking up way too much white space. So here's what I'm going to try. I'm going to try making it separate text. And it's Tito. And centered. Big. And then we got to flip it around. And the way you flip it around is in arrange. What do we think? Is there now too much space in between in and the books? Flip it around. Take a really good look at it. Oh, of course that messes it up. Because it's all different pieces, you can't flip it properly. Yeah, this is one of those cases where it is really hard to tell from upside down if it looks good. And it's funny how those 2s looks like 7s. Bothering me a little bit that there's such a difference between the numbers and the letters, but we're going to go with it. Let's write some reviews. So the first one's going to be easy because I'm going to talk about what I'm doing and why I'm reading it. What I'm doing, why I'm reading. So I'm going to write something about how I started to read this. Yes, okay. So it's not really a review. So I'm actually going to take the word review out. It's kind of like an introduction. And you know what? This introduction is going to continue throughout the whole zine. Here is the perfect place where we can do a little bit of edit. So this goodbye is not that important, and it gives us a whole entire line when we get rid of it. That is an example of a widow in printing. When there's only one word on the next line, usually you can do something to tighten it up and get it to the line above. All right, you know what? I hadn't really scrolled down all the way, and there's actually more space than I thought. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back and write a little bit more. This is the problem with looking at it. I'm looking at it in 125 zoom instead of 100%. I don't know if it belongs here or it belongs on the next page. Maybe it's not one sentence. You know I like balance. So I'm looking at the clouds of witness. I want to write just a little bit more. That looks better. Out of, what am I thinking of? I was going to say out of order, but that's not correct. Out of order, out of genre. I cannot think of what I'm trying to say. So while I'm sitting here thinking of what to say, I'm gonna save real quick. I was gonna say it's out of turn, but that's not correct. The one book that doesn't fit. And the last one, this one took me a while. And this is another one where, you know, I haven't watched all the David Suchet Poirot's. I am watching them now. I found an amazing playlist on YouTube. If you want to watch them, they are all there. Great quality. You know, they don't do any of those weird things to get around copyright. They're just all up on YouTube for some reason. Highly recommend. I adore the Poirot series. One of the main reasons I adore it is because it's set in the 1930s and just everything is gorgeous to look at. It's what they call a feast for the eyes. The clothes, the cars, the hair, his apartment, all the furniture. No, another story I know, but have never actually read. Well, it's not true. I didn't know the actual Mysterious Affair of Styles. Actually, funny story, with about an hour and a half left in the reading, I was so sure that I knew who did it that I actually went and checked on Wikipedia, and then I spoiled myself for the real ending. Oh well. That's not gonna be the last line. This is the thing. This is gonna be the last line in the zine. Actually, I need to put my name in here somewhere. So maybe I use this space. Because remember, this page is the back cover. January 23. How is January almost over? My gosh. Oh, it doesn't fit. All right. That's not that bad. I think I'm going to print it and take a look at that cover. See how I like it. I'm not wild about the spacing. Let's fix this cover and then call it a zine. It is centered though, isn't it? And this is centered as well too. The off-centeredness of the book stack itself kind of makes it look off-center. Let's try that. Let's make this smaller. Not that small. A little bit smaller so that the S doesn't get cut off. Maybe we take out the in. Oh, that is different. I think maybe it wasn't bolded before. That's why. Maybe that's why it looked so different. All right, let's try this. All right, that solved a couple problems. Let's take a look. What do you think? Looks pretty good, right? And the rest of it. So you remember how to fold this. You fold it this way. And you fold it this way. Those are called hamburger fold and hot dog fold. Hot dog is long. Hamburger is half. Hamburger is width-wise. And then you fold it up, right? Both sides. You do this enough times, you just remember exactly how to do it. You get this. Scissors. I always keep right there on hand. And then you're going to cut just down the middle. On the line that you already folded. All right, doesn't look that bad. It's a little bit close on that side. Sometimes you have to remember, that's what we call in publishing, that's the gutter. The margins that are inside the folds. It looks pretty good. There we go. That is number 3. We made 3 zines this month so far. Thank you for hanging out with me this morning. Thank you for making a zine with me, helping me out. Couldn't have done it without you.